Good morning, good morning. This is the Make It Happen Monday show where your host, Cheryl Andrews, also known as the Listening Detective, shares with you all the top tips and trades strategies I've heard people come up with in order to get from where they are now to where they want to be. And it usually comes down to three things: clarity of what you want, confidence in yourself to make it happen, and the resources and support you need to go through the change that may be part of that process. However, I just came on live. Good morning, whoever's joined me, please say hello. Let me know which channel you're watching from, because I just got thrown off after saying that LinkedIn wasn't working. So it'd be great to know who's with me this morning. The subject today is why having clarity of what you want is not always enough. One of the things that I've been really drilling down to for myself personally over this last quarter, we're on the 1st of November, so I'm now really looking at, I started October, November, December with a real focus to look at where my confidence came from. And I've been drilling down today to get clarity of that. But knowing what I want, wanting to be really confident with the changes that are happening in my business and in my life right now, is one thing. But knowing how I need to be and what support I need is another thing. So why is it that clarity alone is not enough? So if you say, I want to make more money, or I want more time, or I want more patience, you know what you want, then what happens? Now, in the age of information, what generally happens is we Google how to have more patience, how to make more money, have more time. And we listen to everybody else telling us how they do it, what their process is. First thing is this and top tip strategies that. But guess what? Right now, you have that wisdom within you. And what's happening, I believe, is that people are not spending enough time listening to themselves and learning how to trust their own process, that they're consuming more and more information that gives them more and more possibilities and more options, which leads to more overwhelm. So even though you know what you want, you can't take any action. You don't do anything to make that happen. So one of the things that we ask on the Make Up Monday, we're going to ask you the question. If whoever's with me and you want to participate, please feel free to put your answers. But the question is, what would you like to have happen? And then when you answer that question, make sure that the thing that you're talking about, just notice whether you're talking about what you don't want, something you want less of, or something you want more of. Now, if you talk about what you don't want, then you're training your own brain to notice when you don't have something. When you talk about that with other people, they just know what you don't want, but they don't know what you do want instead. When you talk about having less of something, again, you're still training your attention on the thing that you don't really want anymore, or you want less of, and other people's, so it's really hard for people to support you. But if you talk about what you want more of, the outcome, your desired outcome, your own system can start to notice what's happening and what's working and when you're getting more of those things. So write down and think about what you'd like to have happen this week, this year, next year, and whether you share it with me or not, that's fine. Now notice, if you ask yourself what kind of, any of those words, you get clarity of what do you mean by what you say. And making sure that you're not being mean to yourself. You're not putting yourself down. There's no sort of criticism of yourself, not judging yourself. It's simply, this is what you'd like to have happen. Knowing that, for some people, when you drill down, you get really, really clear about what it is you want to have happen. The clarity is enough to know and activate and inspire what the next step is. Having done this for a long time now, though, what I've noticed is the people where they've got clarity take action. It's because either they've done the thing before, so the minute they go, oh, I need to drive to Edinburgh, oh, I've done that before, I can go and do it. So clarity alone is enough when you've already got experience of the process to get from where you are now to where you want to be. However, when we're doing things that are new and different to us, we often have to learn new processes, and we'll go to the experts and we'll find out how the people who are super successful, generally what they do, and that can give us some insights. However, there is a real likelihood that you have a process yourself. So, for example, this morning I was just modelling for myself where my confidence comes from, what kind of confidence is that? And I realised that when I take time to walk outside in nature, when I meditate on a daily basis, when I take time to journal, that is when I'm at my most confident, because it gives me some time to connect with myself and check in with what I think and what I feel, even though everything I've heard. But I could have gone online and looked up something about where other people get their confidence from, or I can listen to where my own confidence comes from. So I want you to think about whatever it is you want to have happen. If you instantly, once you get clarity, you take action, there's a really good chance either you've done it before so you know the process, or the one thing that's in your control, you can have confidence in your ability to learn new things. So the one process that you could get really, really clear about is when you're learning at your best, that's like what? Or when you're mapping out processes at your best, that's like what? Now here's some questions you can ask yourself. If what you want to have happen is something different to what you have right now, think about what is happening now, what is already working, and what happens in between where you are now and where you want to be. Now, depending whether you are somebody who perceives time more future-based or more reflective, you might be somebody that starts from where you are now and go, and then what happens, and then what happens, and then what happens until you get to that final outcome that you want. If you're more reflective, you might find it easier to start with where you want to be and go, what happens just before, what happens just before, what happens just before, until you get back to where you are now. And often the processes are multi-layered and complex, and if we don't take the time to map those processes out, we don't have clarity of how to get to where we want to be. We just have clarity of what we want. And when you have a model for mapping out processes and you have a model for learning new systems and processes, then it doesn't matter what you have to do, you'll have the confidence to tap into those resources. And you might find that learning at your best, that you need help and resource. You might need people to help you access that information inside you. What people don't teach us is that we can do a lot of time of quiet reflection on our own, but sometimes to access that wisdom that you already have inside, you need to hear a question outside. You need to have your words repeated back to you. You need somebody that's supporting you and helping you track your processes and your patterns and the progress that you're making. So without any further ado, the first question is, what would you like to have happen? The second question I want you to ask yourself today is, how do you need to be in order for you to have that thing, for that thing to happen? And again, whatever the answer is there, that's the one I was working on this morning. I knew I needed to be confident and have clear actions to take in order for me to get the outcome that I wanted. So once you've got that thing written down, again, you ask yourself questions like, what kind of is it? Is there anything else about that? Where is it? That's like what? If you have a metaphor for it, great. Today I had a lovely metaphor, and the resource that developed from it was that my confidence is that I meditate for 10 to 15 minutes and I have this warm light that's going up and down, and it's just sparkling and it's popping all the stress bubbles that's in my body. So anything that stressed my system the day before or over that, the last 24 hours, it just goes off to those parts of the body and it just fizzles out and it pops all the stress bubbles that are in my system. And when I asked where that warm light came from, it came from the sun. And so I learned that, doing my meditating and going for my walks in nature every day is a vital part to my confidence, for me being confident. Now, I set myself a goal of saying I wanted to do daily walks of at least an average of 2 miles per day. So I knew what I wanted, but now I understand why. And what also emerged from that session of sort of facilitating and thinking about that was that I discovered that if I don't go out to nature and I don't take that time to meditate and heal the stress bubbles that have occurred due to changes in my system or things not going quite how I wanted them to go or whatever else has happened, what I've realised is my soul dies. It starts to die. And when my soul dies, that's when my attention ends up being on the darker sides of inside. So I start thinking about the things that are not working and things that are not going very well and what I failed at and what I haven't done right. And that isn't what I want. And so by thinking about how I need to be, and drilling down and finding out about confidence, I now know that the action of going walking and meditating is not negotiable. for me to be the best facilitator, the best mother, best lover, best wife, I have to go for those walks. No matter what the weather is, getting out during the day when the sun is still out, it's important for me to do that for my own well-being. And so the question number 3 I want you to think about today now is, what kind of resource and support might you need? And I haven't got as far as doing this one today, but if I do it live with you now, for me personally, to have go for those walks and to be proactive, resource and support I need is I need to commit to a certain time in my diary that generally works for me, so that as a rule, this is when I'll meditate, this is when I'll go for a walk, and what I've realised, I need to be much better at doing these things on my own, because, or I need to say to my husband that if I haven't done my walk by the time we sit down in the evening, will you go for a walk with me? Because often if I can combine how catching up for the day and how conversation with the walking, then it works for me. So I know that I'll have to ask my husband to be okay with going for a walk with me in the evenings if I haven't done it. And if I explain to him about my soul dying, I know that he will be motivated to support that, because he definitely doesn't want my soul to die. So that's a few points to think about why just knowing what you want isn't enough. Asking yourself how you need to be and think about what kind of resource or support you might need. Anyone watching on replay, please put #replay. Please share your comments. I'm really happy to ask you some questions as the listening detective and help you drill down and find out what it is that you need in order to make it happen. Have a fantastic week. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Speak to you soon.